Hey everyone, it's Amanda Radke back for another episode of the Heart of Rural America podcast, the show where we highlight great people doing inspiring things in rural America. You guys know that I'm on the road quite a bit, traveling to speak at different events across this great country of ours. And every single stop I make, I never fail to meet someone that just leaves an impact or inspires me or leaves me with a great story to take home with or share in another speech. And I had the great privilege of speaking in Nebraska earlier this year at the Laurel Area Agribusiness Appreciation Banquet, tiny little town in rural Nebraska. I then went to the area schools and read my children's books while I was in town. But that evening at the appreciation banquet, a gentleman came up and introduced himself to me and wanted to buy some books. And we had this great conversation. And today I have brought that gentleman and his wife onto the show. So welcome to the show, Scott and Christy Taylor. I appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda, for first of all coming and visiting our little town here in Laurel, and also for taking the time to do this with us today. And just how you said how you always found someone that impacted you, I want to tell you how much you've impacted us as well. So thank you for this invite today.
Oh, well, that's so kind. And I just have gotten done with a legislative session in our state capitol that was it was very politically charged. It was pretty negative, pretty tough battles we faced. And I almost feel like I need a detox from all things politics and I need to get back to the heart of rural America because what I've seen, and you weren't really expecting me to go on this tirade, so I apologize, but what I've seen is, man, there maybe just isn't the political will always with our elected officials to do the right thing and to impact communities in a great positive way. And I truly believe the solutions are in the people invested in the communities that are living, breathing in the main street, in the communities, part of these rural small towns that we love and hold dear. And I feel like that's what you guys are doing. You've seen some challenges in your small town, and instead of complaining about it or hoping a politician will wave a magic wand and fix it, you guys are just going and doing it. So tell me a little bit about your businesses, multiple, what you guys do, and kind of how you've shaped these businesses to benefit the community.
So, first of all, I have always been one that I don't sit back and wait for anybody to take care of us. We were blessed that the Lord has given us what an amazing country to live in. And anything that we need to do, we can do ourselves. So I started off in business, which I sell seed for a living. So I sell DeKalb corn, I sell Asgrow beans, Zatavo, as well as Syngenta stuff. And we decided once I sold that, my first seed business, we wanted to invest that money into our community. So we seen where there was areas of lacking. We seen that we didn't really have a nice restaurant to go to. So we made the decision to start our first business was a restaurant that we purchased. And it's a bar and a restaurant called Knuckleheadz. We employ multiple different college students that come into our area. We also get some high school kids to help us with making pizzas and so forth. And then when COVID hit and it kind of slowed us down, we realized we needed to be diversified. So then we made the decision to kind of start doing a store. So we wanted to have beef. We wanted to have different products that we had that we seen there was a gap. So we started to sell different types of products. Well, then the next challenge that hit was in 2019, we had the flooding going on. And the Lord blessed us to where not one of our businesses got damaged by all those floods in 2019.
Wow.
But a lot of our communities around us did.
Mm-hmm.
So we started to take food to the communities in the areas around us to help them because there was people that lost everything. So we fixed that. I apologize for that. We took food to those places, and as we went to these communities, we started to see other people that were helping, and they were small business owners. So we completely changed our store, which is T&H Meat Co. and Fine Spirits, and we now carry 199 Nebraska products from 41 Nebraska small businesses.
Wow.
And part of the reason we like your books,
Mhm.
no, you're not from Nebraska, but you have a story, and it is an amazing story. And we want to share those stories because it's people like you and these other 41 businesses that have made this country what it is.
Yeah.
And it never seems to amaze me the people you find and start networking with.
Mhm.
You, as a cattle rancher, tell me, what kind of things did you see in your business after like when COVID hit?
Well, there was interesting opportunities at that time. It seemed like everybody wanted to stockpile beef for the first time, and deep freezes were out of stock. And I was telling everybody, like, hey, for the first time ever, people really want to know where their food is coming from. They want to know a farmer, and they want to keep more food on hand than they normally do. And the shelves at Walmart are bare, and you could be the solution. So go do it. And we saw so although it was a hard time, it was also, it created some, opened some doors too, if you were willing to kind of chase those opportunities. And it built relationships too in such amazing
Yes.
ways. Hmm.
And me selling seed for a living to farmers, I started to see, and I'm sure you can say way more than me, but the cattle markets that went absolutely horrible.
Yep.
And I started seeing my customers, some of them struggling on the livestock side of things.
Hmm.
So one of the customers, which is Greg and Melinda Vilwalk that I sell to, they raise beef from dropping the calves on their ground and their pastures to right into their feedlot and then right to a local packing plant. And I said, what am I buying from the big packers for? So
Hmm.
the next thing we did, I sell seed to Greg and Melinda. They raise the corn, they feed the corn to their cattle. Their cattle goes to a local USDA approved, locker.
Hmm.
We get that. We sell their meat in our store, and we use nothing but their meat in our restaurants.
Awesome.
And it's right from the farm to the table. And I can tell you the story, and I can show you how good this family is.
Hmm.
And that's part of why we do what we do, is to be with the local people that are here to support us too.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, like I have a retail business, just online, and I've started, you just keep curating products that people want. And it's like, yeah, you could go buy the cheapest stuff from China and maximize your profitability, but it doesn't keep dollars circulating in your community. It doesn't benefit and bless other families. And I found it's so much more rewarding, even if the margin isn't as great. It pays you in spades in so many other countless ways that you can't even really measure. Because to me, keeping families in your community, keeping other businesses open, it creates a future and hope for our kids and grandkids that is pretty much kind of being shelled out across this country and shipped overseas.
Exactly. And that's with a lot of the products we have. So here in November, we had a big event that we called the Showcase Nebraska event. And how many vendors did we have, Chris?
Probably about 35.
Okay.
35 Nebraska business owners that came up, and all of them kept asking us, how much are you going to charge us to do this? I said, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to charge. We're going to take money at the gate, and this is the first time ever doing this. And all of them came and set up their tables. And there's something about us small business owners. Well, first of all, people like me are never quiet. We always have a story to tell.
Yeah.
But all of these small business owners told their story. We can't wait to tell everybody. Like you with your books,
Hmm.
when you came up and you told us why you write your books the way you do, that's an inspiration. And it was, so we had over 400 people come through the door the first day as we were telling and we all told our stories. By the time it was done, I had to go collect 10 or $16 from each one of them booths. And they go, do you know how much stuff we sold at this? We want more than, you got to charge us more than 16 bucks.
Yeah.
So we didn't do this for us. We did this for all of us to tell our stories. So
Yeah.
you meet so many great people.
You do. And it's, I don't know, when you can bless like a young entrepreneur or someone that's just getting started too. And it's like, the difference if you can just get them going, the difference between them continuing on for the years ahead or calling it quits because they couldn't make it pencil out. I mean, it's a slow grind entrepreneurship at times, but if you can take off and make it work, man, what a blessing for so many.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about the high school kids and the bar and just how that all came to fruition.
So you're always going to find challenges in your business. And a lot of the challenges that we were finding after COVID had hit was finding kids, first of all, that wanted to work.
Yeah.
And then once we got them in here to work, it was teaching them work ethics and
Mhm.
things that they just hadn't known. So we decided to move one of our businesses, our store, from where we had it located on the highway. We moved it down here into a building that was connected to our bar, Knuckleheadz. And we built a little like ice cream shop that we called the Scoop. And I know last year we employed 16 high school kids in there, getting them their first jobs, teaching them how to be able to handle real life situations.
Mhm.
And it also gave the high school kids a place to hang out as well as families and stuff that didn't want kind of a bar atmosphere. So we made that, and it has worked out really good. Once again, we're changing that again this year because we listen to our youth and the young families. And with food prices getting as high as what it is,
Mhm.
they're saying we need some cheaper options that aren't as expensive. So we changed our entire menu. We're going to open back up here towards the 1st of May. We hired a couple of young girls to work for us that are going to manage that and give them their first steps into learning what it's like to manage and bring in the other high school kids. They want a place to where they can sit, to where some of them are in like youth groups where they do their different Bible classes and that. So we're going to have an area for them to sit and do that. We have TVs to where they can come and watch their classmates play in different basketball games or football games. And it's just a place that should be really good for the younger generation to hang out at.
This just it fires me up because I talk about it a lot in my speeches as I travel this country, and it's depressing to see so many main streets that are sitting empty like ghost towns, and rural America is just being kind of carved out. And I think one of the mistakes that we've made probably generationally is telling our kids there's greater opportunities in big cities. I mean, I know my generation as we were growing up, that's what we were told, like get the heck out of here. And I say it in my speeches all the time, we have to quit outsourcing our best talents, and that's our young people. But if we can create pathways and opportunities for them and be mentors and show them, no, you can make a living in rural America. Here's how. I mean, what the future could look like then for these small towns if we prioritize and spend our dollars close to home. And that's what I love what you guys are doing. What's been the feedback from the community just with all of this?
Of the community, you can tell they really appreciate it. You still have your struggles that a lot of when you don't have, like you were talking, the jobs in the areas that aren't there. So they're driving to, like where we're at, we're only 35 miles from Sioux City, Iowa.
Mhm.
We're 35 miles from Norfolk, Nebraska, and we're about 38 miles from Yankton, South Dakota. So a lot of the adults are working in the bigger cities around us. It's
Sure.
trying to get them to remember not to buy outside of town, to try to buy local and to support the local businesses. We're the ones that when the FFA kids come and they need money to go to state and they do that, we're the ones that help them to be able to get them to go do opportunities that they have available to them if you get your local businesses to support them. So,
Right.
for all of you that are listening, remember to support your local small businesses.
Mhm.
Our competition around here isn't the other little stores in the small towns around us. Our competition is the internet and the businesses that are in the bigger cities.
Right. People, I talk about this all the time, and people think I'm bashing, urban areas or I'm bashing big businesses and I I just say, no, I really believe small businesses are the foundation of this country. And yeah, we have to shop our values. We have to shop for the future we want to see. And I see it all the time too with, yeah, where my mom's hometown where she grew up is 30 miles from a bigger city in South Dakota. And all of a sudden, that next generation, they've started going to the trendy church in the big city. And then they do all their grocery shopping on Sundays when they're in the big city because the prices are just a little bit cheaper. And now, in turn, the grocery store at home is barely hanging on, and the church is ready to close down because nobody goes to the home church anymore. And it's like there is kind of an avalanche effect over time. And I don't know. Yeah, I would say, do you hear that about pricing? Like, oh, we can do it cheaper. I mean, is that something you're combating all the time, or?
Well, you have people that tell us that we're higher priced, and I sit there and I'm probably a little different.
Yeah.
I look at it, I would rather spend a little extra money because I know what I'm feeding my family. I
Yep.
know I'm helping support another family.
Mm-hmm.
And we, in fact, in our store before COVID hit, I sat there saying, we have these packing plants bragging about record margins. And
Yep.
I'm watching these families struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, I don't want to be a part of that buying from a packer. So,
Mm-hmm.
yes, we had to charge a little bit more, but we were buying a beef every 2 weeks from local producers. On social media, we would put where it came from. And those people had that we were buying that beef from had kids in schools. And you have to tell that story to your kids. Your kids don't know this, but this way we were telling them, go home. Little Sarah's best friend, it came from her family farm.
Yeah.
So yes, we're a little higher priced, but I can tell you a story behind everything we carry and who it came from
Yeah.
and what it means. I've never done a podcast before, Amanda, so I'm hoping I'm answering these
Oh,
questions.
I love it. I love it. I mean, as I just think about what you're doing, tell me, I guess, a little bit more about the products. I mean, you have hundreds of products. How have you sourced them? What does that look like? What are some of your best sellers in the store?
So there's so much of everything. So like your books, what we did, we put them in. There is a lady called Strictly Yarn. Would you go grab one of those
Yes.
animals? But we carry her stuffed animals. How she got started was she was working at a home for kids that had drug and alcohol problems, and they were trying to go through rehab. She started this little business teaching them to crochet, stuffed animals. And she got so big at that. And then her and her husband decided to start a family. So she left and went on her own. And now she makes stuffed animals like this.
Oh, cute.
And it's for her family. She helps support her family, but she also takes a portion of that to help people that need help in her area.
Hmm.
And so they are really good sellers because they have a story behind them. We have a pickled asparagus in here that we sell a lot of. That gentleman is Neil Ely with Ely Farms out of Grafton, Nebraska. He started it as an FFA project in high school, took his grandma's recipe, bottled up this asparagus on this fake business. Now he's all over the United States with his pickled asparagus in grocery stores and little liquor stores and things all across the United States. He did
Wow.
that on his own starting as a high school kid. We have cinnamon rolls from Stacy Lynn's Bakery, which Henderson, Nebraska. We sell a ton of her rolls. We have the beef from Loop River Beef out of Randolph, Nebraska. You raise beef. Tell me, when you get hamburger that is right from your ranch compared to what you're getting in your Sam's Clubs and that, is there any comparison?
Well, I'm probably a little biased, but I do tell people that local footprint is so important. The feed that we buy is within 10 miles. They
Yes.
get processed within 10 miles. They are born here, raised here, fed here.
The quality and it's just so good. But everything from Baileyz BBQ Sauce, that's another business that was out of Plainview, Nebraska. And it was a husband and wife that did that. She ended up getting rheumatoid arthritis and couldn't make it anymore. I didn't want to see that business just disappear. So we bought the recipe from them, Dave and Cheryl Bailey. We took that recipe and now we have it. We grew onto it from where they were at. And so now we even take some of our employees here at times. We diversify. To make things work, you have to do multiple different things, just like your ranch.
Hmm.
Going from writing as a children's book author, you're ranching. We diversified with the barbecue sauce. We have kids help us with that, and we deliver that all over the state of Nebraska as well.
That's awesome.
So a lot of really good products with a lot of really good people.
And then do you do photography as well?
Yes, so that was a hobby. That's something that helps me get my brain shut off a little bit. So if you want to see any of my photography, you can go to scotttaylorphotography.net or on Facebook. It's under Scott Taylor Photography. And I'm sure a lot of you, if you've ever seen the Angry Bird Cardinal, that was a picture that I took last year in Concord, Nebraska at my parents' house.
That's cool. Okay,
So,
so how do you manage all these businesses, all these different things? That's what people ask me all the time. Like, how do you do it all? But I'm a kind of a creative brain, and I don't probably a workaholic. You know, I don't have any shortage of ideas, just have a shortage of time, right? But how do
yes.
you guys manage all of this?
Well, I have an amazing wife that she's the quiet one that's here standing next to me today. And I always tell everybody we don't have an employee. The people that work for us aren't employees. They become like family to us.
Hmm.
And by having those good employees and having a main staple with my wife working next to me, we keep this all going all the time, but it takes good people to make it happen.
Christy, how do you manage it all?
Let Scott listen to me vent. No, no. We have some really good managers and people that I can depend on to kind of just take over the everyday reins, where I just kind of oversee everything and
Sure.
let them do a lot of the
And
work.
it's nice in the small community that you'll never find things in the big communities, in the big cities. We have friends that we know if we're in a bind, we don't even have to ask. They'll just call, hey, we know you got a lot going on. Can we come and help? And they
Cool.
come down and help. And you won't see that in a big city ever.
Absolutely not. Yeah, it's you find out who your friends are, right? In a small
Yes,
town and have people
exactly.
rally around each other and yeah, I'm sure a lot of them either have kids that are working for you or have benefited from the stores too. And yeah, it's is that something you guys are just natural at though? I mean, someone told me once in business that you can either control everything or you can grow, but you can't do both. So you have to learn to delegate and let up the reins and give up control of certain things. As Christy's smiling, has that been a process as you've expanded and diversified in all these different ways?
Yeah, I have a hard time letting everybody else do things, and I kind of try to do it all by myself sometimes, but I'm getting better, I think.
Well, I'm the same way. So I could see you smiling. So I'm like, yep, I know exactly how that is. You think like, oh, I could do it better. I could do it faster. I don't, I don't want to slow down to train. So it's just, but you can drive yourself right into the ground, can't you? Just
Yep.
working nonstop. Yeah.
But the thing that I try to always teach is to teach the kids to do that. And I think coming from a business owner that has multiple business owners, our kids have never really had the choice. We tell them, this is
Yeah.
what you're going to do, you're going to work. And you can definitely tell the kids that come to work for us whose parents made them have responsibilities at home. And to those that are doing that, kudos to you because you're teaching your kids the next step in life. The ones that don't expect their kids to do things, it's a bigger challenge, put it
Yeah.
that way.
I know. I think I every generation probably has this where you want to give your kids everything you didn't have growing up. So if you make a little extra money or you do, life gets a little bit better, you want to spoil your kids. But I've kind of realized I've almost gone the opposite where I'm like, I need my kids' life to be kind of hard. They just,
Yes.
I can't do everything for them. And my husband bought a skid loader, and growing up, we never had a skid loader. Like the calving barn got cleaned out by hand with the pitchfork. And I look back on that and I'm like, man, I'd be like a sulky teenager mad at my mom and dad, and my outlet was to go scoop manure out of the
Yeah.
barn. I'm like, no, my kids need a pitchfork. They need to scoop poop. Like, it's the only way
Yeah.
to build character.
You're
I don't know
absolutely
if
right.
that's A+ parenting or not, but yeah.
I totally think that is, and it gets them to appreciate what they have too.
Mhm,
At our house, if they want something, you earn it.
mhm.
And if it's going to cost a little extra money, you might want to work a couple extra hours.
Yep, yep. So you guys have kids?
Yes, we have 3 boys. Our oldest one is Garrett. He's 24. He works with me in the seed business side of things.
Okay.
Our middle son is Wyatt. He is stationed in Oahu. He is in the Navy. And our youngest is Dylan, and he is a senior in high school. And he is a pizza maker. He is a fixer-upper when thing needs to be fixed down here. Scoops sidewalks, does a lot of different things for us. And that way, it helps him pay for gas.
Yeah. Okay. So we have 4 kids. Our oldest is a girl, and then there's 3 boys, and they're 2 years apart between the 3 of them. So they're very close in age. But I feel like I need all the advice for raising sons. I'm one of 3 daughters. My mom is one of 5 girls, and so like I literally don't know what I'm doing with these boys, and they're kind of hard on everything. And including
Yeah.
their mother. So yeah,
They're
please
hard on
unpack
the
this for me.
refrigerator too.
Yes, yeah, hard on the food, hard. I'm constantly saying like, "Oh, mom doesn't deserve nice things," because there's a lot of wrestling in the house, and so I'm like, I need to come up with creative outlets to keep them productive, because I feel like if they're working and productive, they're not fighting and breaking things. So I don't
But
know,
tell
Christy, have
me,
you?
are every one of the kids different too?
Oh yeah, there's no guidebook either. It's like, yep, what works for one kid does not work for the next, does it?
Not at all. But you learn their personalities too. But then you're going to get ready because they're going to let you know who the favorite is before too long.
Oh, I
And
think
I imagine the daughter is probably your favorite in their eyes. She does nothing wrong.
probably. Well, I'll always say she's just like me. She goes on the road quite a bit and speaks with me and sells. She
Yeah.
has a book too, and so she sells her book, and so I'll always tell my husband like, I know how to raise her. This is easy, but the 3 boys, like, I don't know. You got to figure them out, because I haven't cracked the code yet on those boys. I will say winters get pretty long when you can't kick them outside, and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially this last winter when it was so cold and so much snow.
I
And
know, you're just like, please go do something, build something, just not in my house, not in my living room. So
Right. Well, the advice I'd have to give, make sure you have plenty of food in the refrigerator. That's the main thing.
yeah,
And just be ready because the conversation is going to mainly be one word. How was your day? Good.
good.
That's all you're ever going to hear.
Yeah, they're not going to stay little babies for long, are they? And then they're
oh, but they'll probably all 3 get together and come up with some kind of a scheme that, yeah, you're gonna have to watch out for.
Well, someone told me once, like, 1 boy on their own is manageable. Two boys together are trouble. They can come up with stupid ideas, and 3 boys together, there's no brain at all, because they.
But
So,
I'll tell you, our oldest one, since he's moved off, all the arguing you have as parents, it gets well worth it when he comes back and says, I know all those times that I thought you were being hard on me. Thank you. It's molded me into the person I am today. So don't ever think you're doing things wrong.
it's kind of funny how I think about that too. My parents all of a sudden got really smart when I was like 24. It's like,
Yeah.
Yep.
between the ages 14 to 20, maybe they were the dumbest people on earth. And I don't know how they got so smart after.
Exactly.
And so, well, I should thank you guys. I know it's a family service effort when one of your own enters into the military. So in the Navy. So thank you to him for his service. And that means a lot.
Yes.
Thank you.
I know the sacrifices now that besides my son that made the sacrifice, it is to the family, because I'll tell you, I never knew I was so soft until the day we dropped him off to go into the military.
Wow. Yeah. It's a hard feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, but now it's great. We get to talk to him all the time, And so he'll be getting out in December. So we're looking forward to him coming back in December. And we love coming to the great state of South Dakota to go fishing all the time. So he's planning on coming home for a week in June so we can go on a little fishing trip up to Webster, South Dakota area.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm sure it's made you even more proud to live in the United States, knowing you've got a son that is willing to serve and sacrifice everything to keep us free. It's a hard calling, but I'm very grateful. How has his experience been?
He went in at a really tough time. It was when COVID was going on. So when he left, it was right before Christmas time. He got there and they had to quarantine him for like 30 days to where he was in a room by himself.
Oh, wow.
No phone. So we wrote a lot of letters and sent a lot of pictures to each other. We adapt, and that's one thing as human beings that the hardest thing in the world is change, but knowing that we can do it is in having faith. We have a lot of faith in the Lord, and that gets us through a lot of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. With just a few minutes left in the show, I mean, you guys are doing so many wonderful things. What advice would you have to a young person thinking about starting a business of any kind? I mean, right now we're sort of in some tough times economically as a country, and people are struggling to make ends meet. But maybe they have a dream and they want to try something new, be their own boss. What advice would you give?
I would say the biggest advice that I have is whatever business you're going into, you have to sometimes step away as the owner. Instead of looking at it as an owner, what should we do? You have to step back and look at it as what would a consumer want? What would the consumer want to get? What is something that would mean something to them? And then you have to change your thought process, because it's really easy to sit there and try to look at it just from a business owner, way. You have to change that mentality a lot. And another thing, you're coming into this business, it's not going to be everything you think it's going to be to begin with, but sit back and realize what you've done. There's a small percentage of people that have the guts to step into doing their own business and making it happen, and don't lose that passion. When things are down, start thinking of other ways to diversify so you can keep your doors open. And that's how we look at things, and we've changed things. And if it doesn't work the first time, you didn't fail.
Right.
That might not have been the right time. Switch to the next thing. And I've run a lot of other businesses. I had a sporting goods store in town, and when I seen it wasn't the right thing for our community, I didn't give up, fold up, and just say I'm done. I looked at the next thing.
I know it's kind of humbling, isn't it, to have to pivot? I mean, for me, my retail business started because I lost a year's worth of work speaking, and it was like, well, I still had land payments and cows to feed and 3 little kids at home. And it was like, I got to make it work somehow. I didn't plan on shipping orders in my basement, with a baby on my hip, but we made it work. And it can become one of the biggest blessings if you're willing to pivot and be flexible and kind of just be humbled of, this wasn't my plan, but we're going to make it work. And I think you find your customer and work backwards. It's such an important thing of who am I trying to serve and what do they need, not my ego of what do I want to sell and, how does that look?
I never go into a poor me situation. I can't do that. I can't find that in myself to do that. There's times when working with the public, as you know, can be a challenge, but you have to sit back, and I don't know what they went through that day. They may have had a bad day, and I'm not going to judge what they're like. And I try to say to people all the time, give us a shot at things. Instead of going out of town, look what these small businesses do for the community and help. Be active in the community too. I'm on our school board. I help promote everything that our community does. We're a part of it. I don't just sit back and wait for people to come through my door. I want to be a part of something. I want to make a difference.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I always tell people, again, that goes to how we open the show, right? If you can't sit around the coffee shop and complain about what's going on in this country when you can go and fix it and be a part of the solution. So yeah, being on your school board or your county commissioners or your township, or even serving as like a precinct person or something, like being able to lend your voice and your talents and your treasures to help people around you. It's beneficial in so many ways, and it's a way to stop complaining and start solving problems. And when you do that, great businesses tend to arise from those things as well.
And be prepared to meet fantastic people,
Yes.
because there are so many good people, and the Lord puts us all together for a reason. It doesn't just happen.
That's right. That's right. Well, I can't think of a better way to end this show but on that note, because you are one of the wonderful people that I've had a chance to meet on the road. And I hope people leave inspired by this episode. Maybe they could come up with some ideas that were sparks just from this conversation. And I hope this kind of maybe serves as a blueprint for other small towns across rural America and the listening audience here, that where there's a will, there's a way, and you could be the solution to what your small town might be facing, and you could create those opportunities for yourself and the young people around you. So thank you guys so much for being on the show, and I hope to see you again on the Dusty Trail.
Thank you.
Thank
God
you.
bless, and have a happy Easter.
Yes, take care.
Thank you.